Hashtag is Power Zone. We're now joined by Nelisa Ngqulana. Nelisa?
Hi there.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. Nelisa is from Activate, Change Drivers Communication Manager. Tell us about Activate.
Activate is a network of 2,000 young South Africans across the country whose goal together as a group is to contribute meaningfully towards the building of the country through the work that they do. Many of them are involved in many initiatives in their communities, and many are campaigning for different things that all together really a representation of how some young people in this country are working daily towards making sure that their communities overcome some of the challenges they have.
I mean, obviously, and this is why you are here today. It's been a very, or yesterday, we're now in a new day, a very tough day of loss and mourning. We've lost Uncle Kathy. And you know, part of his contribution, which is why we are talking to you, part of his contribution has been towards young leaders and nurturing and grooming young leaders, and you know, helping them move forward and achieve their leadership goals. What have been some of your experiences of Uncle Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. Due to the nature of a lot of the work that activators do, obviously a lot of them have met him in their personal capacity as well in their work. The one significant thing for us that stands out with him was the fact that we got to be part of the founding conference of the Anti-Racism Network, which the Kathrada Foundation and Nelson Mandela Foundation spearheaded as kind of an alliance of organizations who are working against racism in the country, so to try and overcome. So they had put that together. It was a weekend in Joburg in 2015. So as part of that weekend, there was a moment for the attending organizations to interact with Uncle Kathy there. So during his conversation, when he was he was telling these amazing stories about his life, and he was very open and candid about his life story. So after that interaction, we then got a chance to meet with him in person, and we kind of took a chance then during that interaction to say to him, this is who we are, and we would love to actually have a conversation with him a little bit further around how young leaders can learn from him in terms of the tactics they used at the time when they were also much younger. So he agreed, and we then decided to actually put a twist to it and not invite him to like a huge rowdy event. So we decided to host a small intimate event with 10 young women. It was during August, in 2015. So he actually said, no, it's fine, you guys can actually come to my house and we can do it at my home. So we opened his house, and the 10 young ladies visited him at his home, and particularly looking at the value that young women can contribute, especially as leaders in a country like South Africa. He talked a lot around how it is very important that young people are involved in every level of decision making, and he touched on the issue of skills shortage in the country around why is that the case when we have young people who are educated, and he really emphasized the idea that it's important for young people to make sure that they're part of the action, that we must roll up our sleeves and be prepared to serve the country. he was also very candid about the fact that some of the stuff we do as young people can be disappointing in the sense that, in some of the frustration, people, will react by doing things like burning down schools, libraries, and other government buildings. And he went as far as he was just like, yeah, it does seem a little bit counter-revolutionary, and that there are more accessible avenues nowadays for young people to be heard, and for us to get to address the concerns that we have. And the idea of unity for him came out quite strongly, in the sense that he was just like, it is important that the young people understand the value at which democracy came, how people, like him, Mandela's, and the rest of them had to sacrifice a lot. He shared a lot of personal stories about, funny little anecdotes, which were funny, but, were also an indication of some of the things that they had to give up in order for us to get where we are. And that we must always remember that, we could do more as a group than as individuals. So we remember him very fondly because of that, and as a result, we've had quite a strong relationship with the Kathrada Foundation as a result of that, and the fact that always willing to share lessons and wisdom and give access.
And have conversations with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We are in conversation with Nelisa Ngqulana, sharing her experiences and her memories of Uncle Kathy. If you want to join us, be part of the conversation, or ask Nelisa questions, do call us on 0861 987 000, or you can tweet us at PowerFM 987. You speak a lot about his Uncle Kathy's willingness to have conversations, and that seems to be very important. You've brought it up quite a few times. Do you feel like our young leaders aren't properly nurtured by the older generation, or that the older generation is not sufficiently accessible to have these conversations with young leaders?
Putting me in a tight spot there.
You can just share your experience and your journey generally.
Yeah. I think it's a yes and no. I think some people, they have people around them who can make it quite difficult, obviously, to access them. In general, there is a lot of willingness, primarily because as a network we're made up of very proactive young people who won't take no for an answer, so we go for it. From that front, yes, we do. We do get to have those interactions, but I think it can be quite tricky in some cases, because some of our leaders, are surrounded. There are like 50 layers before you can get to them, in terms of having that access. And people are busy. They're not able to, I guess, prioritize that as a thing. But you're right. It is absolutely crucial. That intergenerational conversation is absolutely crucial, because some of the things we're having to overcome and drive change, around are things that we've inherited. A lot of our problems, as you know, in this country are not new. We're simply at a time when we're trying to find, new solutions to basically old problems. So that intergenerational conversation is absolutely crucial. So that, we don't have to plow with, or, we can plow differently. And the only way we can know, how people Uncle Kathy did it, was to have those conversations. With them, and to also get that that affirmation, around what are the things that are similar also when it comes to what's needed to overcome challenges. I mean, the idea of commitment to a particular struggle. Those are universal lessons. A struggle might be a little bit different now. We have poverty, we have inequality, etc. But those are those are still a form of struggle. And how do we, kind of rally around those? I think, certainly a lot more mentoring could help. Tuli Matantela was actually mentioning that 2 weeks ago at an event which was talking about the importance of ethics and integrity in leaders, and that she likes the spirit of young people who are always willing to step in when there's a challenge. However, even young people need mentoring on their journey of development as leaders, and that's where some of and the mentoring is where there's a huge gap.
I mean, so speaking, you touched on the issue of struggles, and each, in a sense, each generation having a sort of different struggle, and you touched on the current struggle being the struggle for economic emancipation. Do you feel that our and I'm going to speak about political leaders particularly because Uncle Kathy was a political leader. Do you think that our political leaders are equipped to assist the young generation in that struggle, or to guide them in the economic emancipation struggle? Or do you think that maybe their understanding of struggle and experience is based on mere political and activism sort of struggles, so that they, even if they were accessible and could have the conversations that you speak of, they may not actually be equipped to impart knowledge and insight on this particular generation's struggle?
I think the simple answer to that is the fact that they don't understand our lived experience. They don't know what it's like to be a young person right now, and that alone for me means they don't necessarily even need to be equipped. They just need to be in touch a little bit more with where young people are. I'll give you an example, very simple example. We have a national youth policy, right, which came into effect in 2015. So as part of that youth policy, there was a presidential youth working group that was established. So Activate is involved in some of the work that working group is doing towards making sure that the implementation of that policy happens. Now, that policy is obviously the one document that talks about how government, is prioritizing youth development in the country. So it's a big thing for us as young people, because it speaks a lot to what the priorities are in terms of overcoming some of the challenges that we have right now. And as part of that process that we've been, on for the last almost 3 years now, is to make sure that we have working delivery mechanisms to make this happen. Now, what I've found very interesting with the process is how cumbersome and how inaccessible that process is for a young person who's on the ground, right? So a typical young person who's out there trying to make this happen. I'm not even talking about young people who have kind of lost hope already. The kind of person that an activator is, a member of the Activate network, the kind of young person who will say, a certain thing is not working in my community, I'm going to find out who my counselor is and find out why this thing is not happening, or I'll arrange a meeting with my counselor to 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 have a community meeting so that we can understand what the councillor's plan is for the community. What I find is, that process is so cumbersome. Like, the policy hasn't been implemented yet because we're still trying to figure out how the implementation will work and how all government departments are meant to line up, and institutions such as the national, the NYDA, the South African Youth Council are working. We're saying we're here as civil society. We want to help. But the processes internally are so insanely cumbersome. And you go to these meetings with people who sit in the government departments who are not even young people themselves. So even the way the processes are designed are not able to speak to our lived reality as young people, and understanding the nuances of what it is that we're doing in our communities and those little things that we need to unlock certain opportunities. Some of the things we need are not, it's not huge things, Some of them, are easily reachable. But because we get stuck in process, because we get stuck in the politics of who's doing what, where and how, they miss, the fact that we're out there and, we're waiting. So it's a challenge whether you're within the process to actually open spaces, just like when you're out there. So to me, I guess in a very roundabout way, I'm saying that perhaps they're not in touch. Perhaps they need to open up a little bit more and ask young people. And let us in, and when we are in, actually make use of the fact that we are in those spaces.
You bring up some very important points there. I mean, the one is the lack of understanding of the current generation's lived experience from the leadership. And there's also then the issue of red tape, not being able to access things. What is the cure there? Do you think is the cure for the older generation to teach themselves more about the younger generation and try and understand the experiences, or is the cure just young leadership? Is the cure to do away with old leadership and infuse young blood into leadership positions?
Not trying to kick people out of jobs.
No, absolutely not. But I mean, we do need to have conversations which are progressive and which lead us to solutions.
Yeah, I think for me, it's meaningful engagement. Not all of us want to be in government, and not all of us are covered by political influence. I think the one big thing in our country is around the fact that we seem to not understand that a lot of young people have the interests of their communities at heart, the interests of the country at heart, without it being politically motivated, right? So there is that lack of understanding around, let's open up for those young people who are not coming because there's a political motivation. As a result, we may not be politically connected.
Or inclined necessarily.
Or inclined. And it's okay, and that's okay, and that's okay. So for me, it's that meaningful engagement. It's also very linked to that, to then not politicize the ability of to open up spaces for young people. Youth development should be, especially through government, should be spearheaded by young people. That youth directorate should not be the one thing in the department that gets fobbed off to whoever is available, right? So if we need to fill it with people, that it should be filled with young people. And I think the most important thing is, when I was saying we're not trying to replace people, there is a place for coaching and kind of successioning that needs to happen.
So are you saying perhaps the issue is in our succession planning?
Absolutely.
And grooming.
Yes. We need to do that a lot more. I mean, we have a lot of capable young people, well-educated young people in the country. There's no reason why they shouldn't be in positions, and especially in government. Everything seems highly politicized. Even employment is politicized. Even when you are inside, a lot of young professionals don't feel completely secure, primarily because of the fact that some of the time, we are not in those positions because we are there to advance political what. We are just there because we want to serve the country, and that should be enough. So I think there's a certain level of politicization of a lot of things, and the capturing, I say that with air quotes, of opportunity for political gain is a challenge.
But just going back to conversations and the necessary conversations that the older generation has to have with the younger generation, do you feel that there's usually more emphasis or more focus by the older generation on the manner in which the youth, the younger generation, wants to be heard, rather than what they actually want to say? Do you think there's focus, for instance, on things like the young generation being violent or destroying things? Do you think there's more focus or talk on that and a dismissal of the issues? Because it seems whenever we hear from the older generation, the focus seems to be all the negative implementation, if you can call it that. So the focus is on the violence, is on the destruction of property, rather than the actual issues that the younger generation seeks to have addressed.
I think it's always a convenient avenue to go down. To say, young people don't care, young people are upset. Like, I was so tired of that, because it might hold some truth, but it's not the whole truth. It does not describe who we are at all. I mean, activatism is an absolute example of that. These are young people all over this country, from all corners of this country, from different races and religions and whatever label you may want to give them, who for me personally, absolutely, are an indication of the potential that is there in young people. We see it a lot in our interactions with other organizations of young people who are doing similar work to us. So it's a sense of not wanting to acknowledge the nuances of that. If we were to try and profile a young person in South Africa, it's not one who's violent. The profile of a young person in South Africa has many different faces and, quite a very nuanced personality. So for me, it begins with acknowledging the fact that there is this wide range. When we talk about young people in this country, we have, a wide spectrum, and as a result, there needs to be a wide range of conversations and interventions in kind of trying to address the many challenges. But often we look at young people from a problematic lens to begin with. We look at the fact that young people violently at the fact that, around health and well-being, we talk about, blesser culture. We talk about young people are pregnant, young people are irresponsible, and
there's a lot of othering there's a lot of othering of young people.
And also we don't look, that picture is not the full picture. We also don't look at the potential that comes with just being young. If you think of the fact that there's so many young people who are unemployed, it means there's so much creativity that's walking around this country that's not being tapped into.
Utilized.
There's a lot of capable, literally hands, that youth period is when we are able and capable to do things. So it means that we're losing out on so much potential that's literally sitting out there and doing nothing. What is the value of that?
I mean, activism is very lonely. And seeking change and driving change is lonely. I mean, it's a lonely endeavor. It's a taxing, if I can call it that, a taxing endeavor. You speak a lot about having had interesting conversations with Uncle Kathy and him having shared stories with you. What is maybe the one story that you heard that he told and you thought, I can do this one more day?
Wow.
So one that sort of motivated you and inspired you to continue on this lonely and taxing journey.
I think for me, the one thing that sticks out was the fact that he took a lot of power from the collective. When he talks about his journey, he doesn't talk about, I did this, I did that. Right? So he took a lot of power, inspiration from the people around him, those who he was close with. And that's kind of the sort of thing that Activate is really about, to say, this endeavor, as you put it beautifully, about the fact that it's a lonely road. That's how actually Activate was started, and the premise of Activate, that, there are young people in all sorts of different corners of the country who are trying to change really heavy things in their communities, but for them to be able to come together, now and then, or even when they're sitting there, to know, there's a Nelisa, there's, at Tebogo, I may be in Cape Town right now, but I know I have colleagues, in Mpumalanga that I can connect with, who are doing exactly what I'm doing. Because then, yes, it may not change much in terms of what I'm doing and I need to do in my community, but knowing that, I have other humans in arms who are also doing the work that I'm doing, gives a lot of power and gives a lot of energy to a young person who's on their journey. And that's literally part of of who we are and what we are as Activate. That that knowing, being able to be on we have so many amazing stories of young people who simply just connect because of the work that they're doing. People who travel from Johannesburg to Limpopo to be received by a stranger, someone that they just met through the network. But it's all in the quest of we are trying to do this really heavy work in the country
as a collective.
It's great to take power from the collective. Yeah.
So I
think it's that power of the power of the collective.
So just in wrapping up and in absolutely 10 seconds, because we are out of time, what is your vision for Activate? You are now, I think, 3 years in.
5 years in.
5 years in. Oh yes. What is your vision?
Our vision is is that we want to be able to contribute meaningfully to the building of this country. We are already doing that, and we want to be able to take our communities with us and the country with us to support us in some of the initiatives that we engage in to unlock and overcome some of the challenges that we have.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you for being part of the change that we want to see in our country. Thank you, Nelisa. That was Nelisa in a great conversation of activism and mobilizing.